I'm joined by Safaath Ahmed Zahir, spokesperson, Maldives Foreign Ministry. Thank you so much, madam, for joining me on my show, On Point. Uh, the sort of the comments which were made, do you think that it was sort of premeditated, or does it reflects a sort of the churn in the Maldivian politics in which the Indian Prime Minister got targeted?
First of all, thank you for having me. Indeed, over the past, 2 days, we are very concerned about the derogatory remarks made against Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and towards India as well. And definitely, these comments are unacceptable, and it does not reflect the sentiments of the Maldivian people. However, we must understand that over the past 2 years or so, or 2 3 years, given the political context and the rise of an India Out movement, which was very much driven, at the back of a patriotic movement to create divisions among the Maldivian people. We must understand that there was a movement as such, and it played a huge role in the recent presidential elections. And there was also a massive spread of disinformation in the Maldives among Maldivians during the presidential elections, which created further divisions among people. So we must understand that it is a new government, and the new government will be appointing political activists to up to the levels of deputy ministers and state ministers, and um, they are very much they have been very much engaged in activism level over the past few years in the political climate. However, when they are appointed to such positions, they must understand that they have to have a great sense of responsibility, because they are representing Maldives, they are representing the Maldivian government. And over the past 60 years or so, and even for centuries, Maldives and India has have very close cordial ties. Maldives is one of India's important ally, and it's mutual. India is one of Maldives' most important ally. We have a very unique relationship that is built on mutual trust and mutual respect. We must maintain that. India is our dear neighbor, one of our closest ally, one of our most important diplomatic partner who we have profound relations. It's absolutely imperative that we maintain very good relations with India, and we have done that so far for several years. And I would also like to take this opportunity to apologize on behalf of the people of the Maldives against the derogatory remarks made against Prime Minister Modi, and hurting the sentiments of the Indian people. In no way this reflects the will of the Maldivian people.
Madam, your words mean a lot to an average Indian when you yourself say that we apologize on behalf of what these three people did. Do you think that it's the anti-India campaign which was run by the present government which has radicalized the mood? They were the one who spoiled the sort of goodwill in the relationship which Maldives and India were enjoying by taking up this anti-India campaign?
Well, we must understand that even during the presidential elections, was ran, and I mean the campaigns were conducted with using broad themes such as the India Out movement, and even years leading up to the presidential elections, to disregard or to discredit and to diminish the credibility of the then government. This movement was used. And this movement kind of infused a reflexive nationalistic fervor, which created a lot of divisions among the Maldivian people, even leading up to the elections, let's say at least 2 years. And during the presidential elections, this was one of their most important campaign theme that they ran, which was to remove foreign influence or neighboring countries' influence from the Maldives, such as removing the Indian military. And of course, they ran this movement. So we must understand that, leading up to the elections, also for several years, this movement was going on, and this was one of the main themes which was used. So obviously there will be that kind of an attitude, that kind of a mentality, that kind of an ideology surrounding the current political appointees as well, because most of these current political appointees are political activists who were very actively involved in the current government's campaign
Madam,
activities.
who are these
So obviously
activists?
this
Are they
ideology.
are they are they China funded? Where are they getting these ideas from? India has never intervened. Last time, India intervened was for the people of the Maldives. Indian tourists go to Maldives. They love Maldives as a destination. I mean to say, you ask anyone, the first thing they'll say, okay, it's winter, let's go to Maldives. Why would someone spoil that relationship, which is so mutually beneficial and respectful?
These political activists, they are not that knowledgeable about the foreign policy dynamics, the foreign policy context. For example, India is the leading source market for Maldives when it comes to tourism, with a market share of about 11%. And tourists from India, Indian tourists, is one of the most important market for Maldives. And India and Maldives' diplomacy, it goes beyond diplomacy, in fact. For example, Maldivian people travel frequently, at least once in their lifetime, to India for medical purpose, and Maldivians enjoy Bollywood movies. Bollywood actors travel to Maldives very often. They are repeat tourists, in fact. And Bollywood movies are also shot in Maldives. And so there's a relationship that goes beyond diplomacy, and the current political activists perhaps do not understand very well about the long-standing cordial ties and the in-depth of the relationship that we have with India. India and Maldives are the closest neighbors, and I think a lot of efforts needs to be undertaken by the government to really put emphasis among themselves to have a standard code of conduct, and also the fact that the current government has several times claimed that pro Maldives is their new foreign policy. So the biggest question is how important, obviously it is very important, how important is it to maintain our cordial relations, and on what architecture, foreign policy architecture, will they be maintaining our cordial ties with our neighboring countries in this new foreign policy? Yeah.
The new foreign policy. Do you think that the foreign countries are involved? This is something which is being talked about. Do you think there's a foreign hand in creating that public opinion in Maldives?
Um, I strongly believe that India and Maldives have a very close relationship for over 60 years. And India and Maldives have a very unique relationship based on mutual trust and mutual benefit. And there might be, certain influences that will try to tarnish this relationship, that will try to put rift between this relationship. But for all of Maldives, and even the Maldivian people know that our relationship with our closest neighbor is very important to us, not just because India is one of the leading market source for just tourism. It's years of relationships, it's decades of relationship that has been, like I mentioned, based on mutual respect and based on mutual benefit that relates in almost every area. For example, from education to capacity building, to consular matters, to other bilateral, issues and bilateral engagement. It has been a very, truly a very beneficial relationship for Maldives, and mainly because we are neighbors. And even when it comes to bilateral economic and trade relations as well, India and Maldives' trade figures, must be looked upon. And obviously, I think certain, influences will try to put a rift between these relationships,
And
between
before I
this
let go of you,
relationship,
madam,
and it's very important.
before I let
Yeah.
go of you, is there any way in which now this relationship can be repaired? You have been part of the government. You know, this is something which has rankled the entire machinery. It rankled the public opinion in India also, most importantly. How can it be repaired?
It can be repaired. I think we will have highs and lows when it comes to our relationship. It's a time-tested relationship indeed. It can be very well repaired. I think the government of the Maldives must take severe actions, must take important, actions to bring those who have made such derogatory comments on Prime Minister Modi and Indian people. I think a strong message should be given to the Indian people in assuring the Indian people that we are in fact with India and we respect India. So that's very important. I think suspension is not a very. I think suspension is something it's a very mild consequence maybe, and I think the government should really remove these activists who have made such comments against Prime Minister Modi and the Indian people, that really would give real high assurance to the Indian people that there will be consequences if you make such derogatory comments and such belittling comments. So it's very important that the government take important actions in relating to this issue.